I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Round the nation. Round the nation. What's up, everybody? What's up? It is Wednesday. We got a show for you all today. It's going to be both fun and interesting and, of course, enraging. As usual, this time, I feel a little vindicated in a way. Because, look, I have been criticizing Democrats. Look, I've been criticizing Democrats for my entire career, for as long as I've been doing the show. And the criticism has always been the same. It's always been from the left. It's always been, hey, Democrats, you should probably do something so that you can actually win elections, stay in power, but also, most importantly, help the American people, right? And again, if you only cared about keeping your own power, staying in office, then you could at least do something, right, to get people to turn out to vote for you. So now, I'm saying that I'm feeling a little bit vindicated because it turns out that there are some Democrats in power in Congress, as well as strategists, that are saying, oh, you know what? Maybe we ought to do something because it turned out not going to be good if we don't. Okay, interesting. So there appears to be some irritation among members of Congress, as well as strategists and even huge Democratic establishment. We're talking about people who are 100% behind Joe Biden, okay? They're not happy with him. In fact, Roe has really kind of changed the game here, and I'm going to get into how. And so we're going to do that. That's a big story. We also have an Irish politician weighing in on whether or not the United States is a democracy. So that's interesting. We are also then going to go to Mitch McConnell doing what Mitch McConnell does, blaming poor people, of course. And then we're going to have some fun with conspiracy theories. So that should be very, very interesting, including the Georgia Guidestones partially being blown up. Wow. And then, are we in a parallel universe because of CERN? Some people think so. We'll talk about it. So again, fun. Just going into your, classic round the nation dunking on conspiracy theorists. So, again, we're going to have some fun. We need a little levity. So let's do it. Dive into the show. Oh, if you haven't already, please like and share the stream. If you haven't already, again, a little bit sorry for the late start here, but it's also classic around the nation. So, all right, let's do it. All right. Top-level Democrats are in a panic after President Joe Biden's inability to do anything to avoid a party wipeout in November in the upcoming midterms, as well as the possibility of losing the 2024 election. I know it's a while away, but nonetheless, there is a palpable fear inside of the establishment that bad things are going to happen if young voters don't turn out. So now, some of them were speaking to Politico, but I have different sources. I have sources that spoke to The Hill, Huffington Post as well. And so basically what's going on here is you have Democratic strategists, insiders, and top-level supporters that have all weighed in on Biden's presidency. And so far, it's not good. And again, it's very important to look at the context here and who is actually doing the criticism. I'm a progressive, so, you know, I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden, but these people are. And so these people, you can't get more Washington Democratic establishment, rah-rah Joe Biden than these people. And so again, very important context here. So let's go to one unnamed top Democratic strategist saying this of the Biden team, quote, "It's infuriating. Our house is on fire, and it seems like they're doing nothing to put the fire out. They're just watching it with the rest of us." Again, pretty damning rebuke, but it's not the only one. Another Democratic strategist, this time named as Joel Payne, said Biden desperately needs to change course. Quote, "There's the administrative part of the job and the political part of the job." Okay. And it seems like this president is leaning more in the administrative role at a time when his coalition is thirsty for political clarity and leadership. Oh, let's be honest. I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty not for clarity and leadership. I'm thirsty for them to actually do some things. You know, things that they're able to do without having to deal with Manchin and Sinema. And that's things like, for example, you know, reschedule marijuana, for example, decriminalize that. I don't even do it, but I just think it's ridiculous that we're locking people away for smoking a plant. And so there's that. There's canceling student loan debt. There are things that they could do, things that the Biden administration can do to help average working people without having to deal as much with Congress. So now, and again, because we know there's massive Republican obstruction, the obstruction, of course, that we said that was going to happen. Obstruction is going to happen. Republicans are not going to work with Democrats unless it is something that the donors specifically want. And so Joe Biden not really able to do bipartisanship if the other side wants to basically block everything that you do. But okay, there's more. He also said, the president and his team have to be vigilant about providing that and balance the need to do both. Sure. Before I get into more of those, again, I just want to let everybody know, because there seems to be any sort of knee-jerk reaction for when you criticize the Democrats from the left that you were lumped in with Trump voters or Bernie or busters. Let me be very, very clear here. I voted for Joe Biden in the general election in 2020. I am in a swing state. I did my duty, and I helped elect Joe Biden. I voted for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary. So let's be very, very clear. I do not want Donald Trump to be president. I don't want Republican to be a president. I don't want Republicans anywhere near power. They are fascistic. I don't want them anywhere near power. They don't deserve to be anywhere near power. That said, the point here, The point here is to sound the alarm, okay? So that Democrats get up off their ass, and I don't mean the voters, I mean the politicians that we put into office through our votes and the money that many of us gave, not myself, but many of us gave to these politicians to get them into office. Do something with the authority that we have given you. That's all we're asking. And if you don't, I'm afraid of what's going to actually happen to our democracy. It's not just about electing Democrats. It's actually about protecting democracy. And we have done all that we should do, that you have told us to do. You have asked us to do. Now we're asking for the Democratic Party, the politicians that we put into power, to actually do their damn job. Okay, there's more. Okay. But again, and I have to say this, right? And I have to be very clear, because I know somewhere out there, someone's going to say, oh, so you want Donald Trump to win? You're Raymond. No, shove your smug condescension up your ass. So let's just say that, all right? I'm going to say that because I'm tired of it, and I'm tired of you, and I'm tired of the Democrats losing to fascists, okay? And taking our votes and our money for granted. So, I do not want to see Republicans retake the House and the Senate. I don't want to see Republicans take the White House. I don't want to see that, because that is the literal end of democracy. Okay? But again, this has gotten to a point where it is so bad that you have establishment Democrats, very, very pro-Biden Harris people, that are saying, what are you doing? For God's sakes, do something. Okay, so now let's go to Bakari Sellers. Bakari Sellers, not a progressive. Here's what he said on CNN of Biden. Quote, I'm not sure what he's doing. I can tell you what he ain't doing. Oh, you mean like, you know, not being able to secure voting rights? Another incredibly establishment person who was part of a White House call last month was Deborah Messing. Deborah Messing, again, nowhere near progressive, nowhere near a Bernie bro, okay? She's establishment Democrat as it gets. Here's what she said. She said that she had gotten President Biden elected, and had basically, I don't have anything to show for it. I got him elected. That's her words, right? What do I have to show for it? I just lost reproductive rights. What are you doing? She also questioned why she was being asked to do anything, and I think here's where she's right, and that it didn't seem that there was a point to voting. She yelled at them. I did all this for what? And you're asking me to do more? You're asking me to fundraise, or to give money to you. You're doing fundraising, all this fundraising, and then asking for us to vote harder. But when you haven't done anything, Other top Democrats, according to CNN, complained the president is not acting with, or perhaps is even capable of, the urgency the moment demands. Here is another member of Congress describing the White House as, quote, rudderless, aimless, and hopeless. Not my words, their words, to illustrate how bad this really is. And how, and I'm going to toot my own horn for a second, okay? Even though it's not really that big of a revelation, but I was right in saying, and you can look up the videos of me saying this during the primary election, that Joe Biden is not going to be the man for the moment. He is just not going to be able to meet the needs of what we need to do today. And that is to take big, bold, progressive action to solve these pressing issues. 2020 was not a normal year. These are not normal times. This is not 1986. Okay? This isn't the olden days. Joe Biden still thinks it's 1950s. It's not. Completely different times. Okay? And so he is not the man for the moment. And he never was. And by the way, the White House wasn't even ready for Roe to be overturned. They had known that memo was out for a month. They had known. Like, oh, hey, the Supreme Court's probably going to overturn Roe pretty soon. You might want to prepare for it. You might want to do something about it. You might want to have some plans. No, here's what they described it. A White House press aide assigned to the issue of Roe v. Wade was walking to get coffee when the alert hit. Several Democratic leaders privately mocked how the president stood in the foyer of the White House, squinting through his remarks from a teleprompter as demonstrators poured into the streets, making only vague promises of action because he and his aides hadn't decided on more. They found out through the news and were completely gobsmacked. Oh my God! Oh no! I didn't think they were going to actually overturn Roe today. I didn't know that. Really? You didn't know that? You weren't paying attention? You didn't make a plan? And they were wildly unprepared for any of this. Wildly unprepared. Now, another Democratic member told CNN, quote, of the Biden administration, there is no fight. Now, people understand that a lot of this is out of his hands, and I get that. But what you want to see is the president out there swinging. Now, look, these are not progressives. Again, talking about this, not Bernie or Busters. These are Democrats in the White House and in Congress and strategists. They're all saying this. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's something to it. Now, there are progressives that have also been speaking out, and of course, getting just absolutely, smashed by the, mainstream media, by MSNBC, these pundits and everything. But they've been saying it correctly all along. Here's what she said. We've been sounding the alarm about this for a long time. Some may want to go after the messenger, but we simply cannot make promises, hector people to vote, and then refuse to use our full power when they do. We still have time to fix this and act, but we need to be brave. Well, we can tell who's not brave and who's not actually looking to do big, bold action. Now, look, her and Elizabeth Warren, again, Elizabeth Warren, progressive on some issues, but generally, considered to be more establishment than at least AOC. They got together and they put out a list of things the federal government could do to, for example, help women access abortion. All right, so now one of the ideas was to open abortion clinics on federal land where the states do not have jurisdiction. That idea panned, gone, just completely gone. Okay, so in fact, what we've seen from some of the larger Biden defenders is a dismissal of younger voters who are more affected by Roe. Older Democratic voters, again, not saying all of them, not making any generalities here, because I know a lot of older Democratic voters actually do watch the show and are great progressives. And they understand the importance of Roe. But what I'm talking about is a certain subset of people who have never ventured beyond watching MSNBC or any corporate news. And those are the ones that will go on Twitter and they'll attack progressives, they'll attack Bernie Sanders, they'll attack AOC, and they'll praise people like Joe Manchin for making sure the party doesn't go too socialist. And yet they'll also turn around and blame Bernie Sanders and progressives for wanting too much. Oh, that's how you got Trump. Hillary was right. She was right. So was Bernie Sanders. So was everyone else was right about Trump. But anyway, okay, so what we've seen again is a dismissal of younger people who are going to be most affected by this, by those particular people. Okay, so now, and not only that, but again, you have these older Democratic voters and older Democratic politicians like Clyburn. So that's House Majority Whip James Clyburn, who dismissed the court's ruling on Roe, calling it anticlimactic. Oh, really? Anticlimactic. Okay. You also have other Democrats like Representative Andy Levin, who had posted a photo of himself right after Roe, the decision had come out, doing yoga, saying he was turning inward to meditate on the decision. What are you doing meditating? Number one, you're not affected by this. Number two, we're not paying you to meditate. We're paying you to do things, to actually try to protect women's rights. And not just women's rights, of course, but the rights of trans men. Anyone with a uterus is affected by this. And then you had Nancy Pelosi going out there and reading a poem while members of her caucus saying, "God bless America," at the Capitol building. And that was supposed to be their big message. That was supposed to be them fighting back. Oh, and of course, blasting out nonstop fundraising emails. And of course, whenever I point that out, I get people that are like, "Oh, but you understand, Democrats need to fundraise. This midterm's coming up." Democrats are constantly fundraising. And the thing that frustrated me the most about it was the fact that they blasted out those fundraising emails like they had them pre-prepared. They had prepared for that. The second it was there, immediately, we're all inundated with, "Give us money, give us money." But where's your plan? If you had a plan, and if you were working on acting on it, then maybe we would consider. But no, it was just fundraising, and then this nonsense. But what's worse about Pelosi and Clyburn, and why it's so important to mention them, is because they had helped just recently an anti-choice Democrat beat a pro-choice progressive in Texas. That was a race between Henry Cuellar and Jessica Cisneros by about 200 votes, just over. They backed up Henry Cuellar and put all the establishment weight behind him. He refused to codify Roe v. Wade. And he's saying, "I'm an anti-abortion Democrat. What? Let me be me. Just let me be me." No, Henry Cuellar, if you want to be you, there's a party that is very anti-choice and very pro-gun. It's called Republicans. Why don't you go there? Why don't you become one of them? So, look, and by the way, it's important because had they came up on her side, that could have meant all the difference. It could have meant all the difference. So understand why this party is in serious trouble. And I'm not just talking about the midterms, but again, going back to that, young people, you think young people are going to turn out now? If Deborah Messing is yelling at you and asking, "Why should I go out and vote?" I mean, what do you think young people the decision they've already come to? And by the way, you can get mad about it, and you can, blame young people, blame progressives. I know some of you will. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that you're going to need young people to win. You're going to need millennials. You're going to need Gen Z. You're going to need them to turn out. And right now, they're not. just 37% of Gen Z and millennials support Joe Biden, have a positive view. Harvard Institute's politics also found approval ratings with Gen Z were down 18 points to a different poll in the last year to around 41%. And Gallup found a 21-point drop to 39%. Biden overwhelmingly carried the young during the election. But now, historic drops in approval ratings. Young people not happy. And again, it's not because they think Trump and Republicans are better. No, it's because they want Biden to do something, and he's not. One pollster mentioned in the Political piece is Terrence Woodbury. So now Terrence Woodbury says that Gen Z, and he's wrong about this one, but he thinks that Gen Z just wants to see more political theater. Now, I say that and point that out because, again, this is who is talking to Biden and the team. But he also gets it partly right. So let's go into that. Now, he says that Democrats just need to value signal, another word for virtue signal, a little bit more, that the Democrats are willing to fight for them. Because right now, they're not even doing that. They're not even putting out the bare minimum of saying, oh, no, don't worry, we'll fight for you. We actually are going to try to fight for you, and we're even going to try to show you. They're not even doing that. They're just saying, shut up, get in line, and vote harder. I mean, that doesn't go along well with younger people. Okay? So now, Woodbury, again, wrong about that. We don't care about virtue signaling. Young people don't want value or virtue signals. We just want Democrats to do something. That's it. Just do something. Again, kneeling with kente cloth is not going to do it. Reading a poem is not going to do it. Again, I mentioned things that Biden can do. One major thing for young people is to cancel student loan debt. $10,000. You even reneged on $10,000 of student loan debt. You could do 50, you could do all of it. Still, you have the authority to do so without Congress, but you've been thinking it over for like, I don't know, a year? Longer than that? Again, decriminalize cannabis on the national scale. And yes, even do a little bit of, value signaling by using the bully pulpit to say, this is what I want to do. This is who's blocking it. Yes, it's Republicans. Yes, it's Mitch McConnell. But yes, it's also Joe Manchin. Yes, it is also Kyrsten Sinema that refuse to make carve-out exceptions in the filibuster. So that's the thing. There are carve-outs. They can carve this out and do voting rights and do a vote to codify Roe v. Wade, if they can manage to get past that filibuster. And again, not completely destroy the filibuster. I know there are people that are worried about that. But you can make a carve-out for these. And Biden's already said, I'm interested in doing a carve-out for abortion rights. Then that means you just have to apply pressure. Oh, but then Joe Manchin's not going to do anything. Okay, he's not doing anything now. So what difference does it make? You should try it. You should actually try to do something. You should actually try to fight for your agenda. You should fight for your agenda and not give up prematurely, because that inspires absolutely no confidence in you or anyone else. And if there's no confidence in you or anyone else, then who's going to turn out for loser Democrats? I'm trying to help you guys. It's up for you. It's up to you if you actually want to take the advice and win, or at least show people that you're willing to fight. There's more. Chuck Rocha, Democratic strategist, said he has found in focus groups that just saying, I'm fighting for it, is not enough anymore. Quote, they are tired of us saying we're fighting, but not delivering shit. What can you do tangibly to make a difference, to do something about this. We are good at bringing a policy book to a fist fight, and I worry about young people not showing up to vote because of it. And again, before some of you dismiss us, and I see you already are, young people, and tell us that you don't need us, or that, we're Trump enablers or Russian stooges, we're getting Republicans elected. Remember this. In Virginia, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin won a state that went to Biden by a 10-point margin. In part because there were voters that didn't turn out, right? The electorate ended up being 12% whiter and 8% older. That's all it takes. Get them to turn out. You get people to turn out, and guess what? You win. Now, Woodbury adds, I'm afraid young voters are growing so cynical that they're just going to find other ways of expressing their discontent, like protests, but not voting. I'm afraid of that too. And I see it everywhere. Which is why I'm saying, do something. Just do something. Instead of trying to shame young people, instead of trying to dismiss them and attack them for staying home, why don't you try to, join them in pressuring the Democrats to do something? And if when you get the chance in a primary, vote for people who are progressives. Don't vote for incumbents. Vote them out. Telling people just to vote is not going to be it. Because again, we've seen it, and this is the big problem. This is why people don't turn out. Hasn't really done a whole lot for people. One more quote here. It's from Amanda Littman, co-founder of Run for Something, Democratic organization that recruits and supports down-ballot candidates. She said the Democrats at least need to get caught trying. And I think that's really important. I think that's going to be really important for Gen Z. If the argument is, give us 2 more senators and we'll pass and codify Roe v. Wade, give us a reason to trust you. And with all the chances they've historically had to do so, under both Obama and Clinton, they have not earned that trust. And they've lost a lot. Again, do something. Do something. Even if you have to go and do an executive order, do something. All right. Okay, so that is, wow, that took a while. Facebook comment here. The problem is that Biden won't even try. He threw up his hands and said, oh, well. Plus, there are things that he can do single-handedly that I won't even consider because they would rock the boat. Voting blue, no matter who, doesn't work. We need 2 progressives who will actually do something. Biden needs to back out of running for a second term. It will destroy our country because he will lose big time. Again, you have, nothing you said there is wrong. You got it. You nailed it. And that's what we're trying to warn. Again, we don't want to lose. We don't want to be in the losing team. And I hate phrasing it that way. But if some of you only understand team mentality, then I guess that's going to make the most sense. I'm tired of losing on policy. Let's do good policy that helps people. And in order to do good policy, we have to have good politicians in place in order to do it. And we don't have good politicians. We have terrible politicians. Replace them all. Any incumbent that has decided, no, we're not going to really do anything. Or anyone who defends a terrible incumbent, you gotta go. Okay. Can you tell I actually care about that? Because it's been like 15 or 30-minute segments on this. Jesus Christ. All right. We got more stories, so let's do it. people from around the world are looking at basically the United States in horror as we continue to slide further and further into right-wing fascism. In fact, you have one Irish member of the European Parliament who recently went viral for this rant asking if the United States is even actually a democracy.
Democracy? Well, let's have a look at it. It costs $2 billion to become president. They have 25% of the total prisoners in the world. They spend over $800 billion a year on arms, which is more than most of the world put together. They've been at war for 250 years since their state was formed 275 years ago. But they can't afford universal health care. They can't afford the 1.7 trillion debt forgiveness for students. They can't afford a programme for the 17 million children that go to bed hungry. Is this a functioning democracy? What's your idea of a democracy? Bernie Sanders wasn't even allowed to win the nomination for the Democrats. The Americans couldn't spell democracy.
I mean, I don't really see a whole lot wrong with what he just said. Now, look, that's Mick Wallace. He's a lefty politician in Parliament. And look, there are some positions that he have that I don't necessarily agree with him on, but everything he said there was accurate, 100%. He's very spot on. Yeah, we spend all this money in our country on BS wars, on corporate tax cuts, money for the rich. We don't have Medicare for all. We don't have universal health care. We have mass shootings all the time. And the victims of those mass shootings, by the way, don't even get their medical bills taken care of. They have to pay their own medical bills for getting shot in the face. Broken country, absolutely broken country. No, the United States is not a functional democracy. In fact, the majority of Americans support abortion rights, support Roe, gun control measures, common sense gun control. They believe the EPA should be able to regulate carbon emissions, okay? You know, to protect the environment. They think that corporations have too much influence in our politics, and they absolutely do. They support higher wages for working people. Again, universal health care. And yet, we have a government that doesn't do any of that. We have the United States Supreme Court, which is a rogue court that's recently gutted the right to women's bodily autonomy. And not just women, of course, but you also have trans men, anyone with a uterus. They've weakened the separation of church and state. They have loosened laws around guns. They have loosened laws around campaign finance. One of the decisions allowed Ted Cruz to basically loan his campaign money and then have his campaign basically pay him back. And then you also have the Supreme Court gutting the EPA's ability to regulate not just carbon emissions, but also for government agencies to regulate almost anything. Corporate rule. We also have a government that gave trillions of dollars in tax cuts for the rich under Donald Trump. And, of course, under Biden, we had the American Rescue Plan, which also gave billions of dollars in states with very, very little oversight that they are now using to cut taxes for corporations. And so, look, that bipartisan infrastructure bill as well that Biden is touting was largely a giveaway to private corporations. So everything that we've done really has benefited the wealthy. We don't have a democracy in this country. We have corporate rule. That's what we're living under, corporate rule. And at the same time, President Biden and the Democrats are constantly giving money to the military, as well as money to Ukraine. He's making sure that we have austerity in this country. And yet, at the same time, you also have the Republicans on the other side that are blaming inflation on stimulus checks, while these corporations that are jacking up their prices are blaming inflation on those stimmy checks while making record profits. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on. So now, of course, what do we do about it? What are we doing about it? Well, the starter is, hey, let's get rid of incumbent politicians. They don't serve us. They serve their corporate masters. if you enforce and serve corporations and do corporate rule, we should replace you. Gone. Get out. And by the way, progressives, if you're not helping, you also need to get out. If you say you're a progressive, then be progressive and actually fight. And if you don't, we're going to replace you with a progressive. And what we also need to do is move beyond electoral politics. That is part of it. And electoral politics is important. Everybody should go out and vote, obviously, but that should not be the focus. What we need to do is to organize labor. I think the only chance the United States has is a revitalized labor movement. We need working class people to get together and form unions, strengthen labor, and really show the corporations, the corporate elite, that together we are strong and that we demand things like universal health care, higher wages, childcare, and benefits. We deserve these things. We also need to organize our own communities and start serving our own communities, creating mutual aid networks. We need to create protest groups, put pressure on politicians, as well as supporting local sustainable agriculture practices. There's a lot of different things that we can do. Constructive things. And I want to be constructive here. But we need to stop relying on Democrats or any politician to save us. And again, this is not an endorsement of Republicans. Republicans are fascists. They're looking to end what little democracy we have left. And look, what they did is they had a long game for destroying Roe. They fought for 50 years to overturn reproductive rights. So guess what? We need to take a page out of their book and start planning for the long term and fight, even if it takes decades to get our rights back, as well as, not just restored, but expanded, codified into law. We need a progressive president. Joe Biden is not the person for the moment. We need to do all of that stuff. This is not a simple solution to take back our country from the fascists. But that's the situation that we find ourselves in, and we can either rise to the moment or fall into a very dark place. If we actually do want to be a real democracy, we're going to actually have to work for it. And that's going to be hard. But again, it's going to get us far, far more than just showing up one day every couple of years, checking a box, and then doing whatever else. All right. Moving on. Let's go to Mitch McConnell. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell thinks that Americans are lazy and have gotten too fat and comfortable on stimulus money to go back to work. During an event in Paducah, Kentucky, McConnell had offered commentary about the so-called labor shortage, which again is not a real thing. There's actually no labor shortage. There's plenty of people out there that are willing to work and that are actually working. But there are people that want better jobs and better pay. Now, here's what McConnell said, quote, "You've got a whole lot of people sitting on the sidelines because, frankly, they're flush for the moment." They're flush. Meaning they've got lots of money. Well, I don't know anybody flush with cash. I don't know anybody who's choosing not to work because of the $1,400 stimmy checks that they got. I don't know. I don't know anybody. What I do know is that there are plenty of people that are tired of being underpaid and undervalued. and have left these lower paying jobs to get higher paying jobs. Because during the pandemic, first of all, you had 1 million people dead that have died from COVID. So that's 1 million jobs probably that have opened up, or, it's not a 1-for-1, but, generally there's a lot more jobs that have opened up than before. You had people that retired. You have people that don't go back to work or can't go back to work because they can't afford childcare. And so you have all these people with all these different reasons for not going back to work in a lot of these low wage industries. And so nonetheless, McConnell is going to continue. Here's what he said. What we've got to hope is once they run out of money, they'll start concluding it's better to work than not to work. So understand that he is telling everyone that the American people, that they're lazy, and that he hopes that you run out of money soon so that you can go back to work. And of course, that's just what he said. And if that's not bad enough, let's look at the subtext, right? What he means here is that he can't wait for people to have to go back to the days where you have to take whatever low-wage garbage job that these corporations have. These same corporations who are the ones that are flush with cash. Take whatever wage that they want to give you, which is going to be low. It's going to be very low. But take it anyway because, you don't have any money. You're broke and desperate. Again, the only people that are sitting on these giant piles of money are big corporate CEOs. Again, let me give you some numbers here. For all of 2021, corporate profits, this is pre-tax, increased by 25%. That's over the last year, the year before, to about $2.8 trillion. That's untaxed profit. That is from non-financial U.S. companies. So this isn't even counting the banks that also got trillions of dollars in free money from the Fed. They had their most profitable year since 1950, according to numbers from Bloomberg. After tax, that margin was still about 13%. An altitude hit they described in only one other quarter during the last 70 years. Wow. And in the first quarter of 2022, after-tax profits increased about 1.5%. Not dramatic, but still increased in the first quarter from the end of 2021, and were up 15.7% from the same time the year before. So, there's more. This is also while after-tax profits, the share of gross value added for non-financial corporations, saw profit margins wider than any other period since 1950. Again, this is while compensation for workers, again, this is what you get as a percentage of gross value added, slipped down to 59.5%, the lowest since 2019. So corporations seeing record profits, even though they did decrease, to be fair, slightly since last year. But you have workers whose pay continues to slip. Oh, but you know what? Hey, you got that $1,400 stimmy check that somehow you've made stretch 2 years somehow, and you're flush with cash. Really? Really? You think that's the problem? Of course they think that's the problem. They have no idea what it's like. No idea. So incredibly just disconnected from average people. Now, here's the problem, okay? If companies want to hire people, and they are, by the way, I'll give you some numbers on that. But if you want to attract people to work for you, guess what? You could offer higher wages. You could have more flexible workplaces. A lot of people are now choosing to prefer to work from home. because they can. And look, if your job can be done from home, why should you have to commute your ass to the office to sit around a bunch of people who you might not like, who might smell bad? I've worked around people who have smelled bad. Not fun. It's not a fun situation. Drive all that way on $5 a gallon gas to go sit in the office in a job that you could actually do at home. And yet you have all these companies, in order to justify renting or buying or leasing this office space, pushed to them by, of course, these realtors or places that will rent out this office space. Get people back to the office. Get people back to the office. You got to get people back to the office. Why? Well, because it makes them money. Oh, well, now we know why. Now we know why. So, but no, if you can get your job done from home, you should be able to do that. But here's the other thing, right? Now, in addition to these flexible workplaces and higher wages, you could also ensure that workers who have families have affordable childcare. That would be nice. It could also require or eliminate the requirement of having to have 2 years of experience to be an entry-level secretary. I know. Wait. It's supposed to be entry-level. Why is there an experience cap? Why do you have to be a year or 2 years of experience? It doesn't make any sense. But here's the thing, too. It's not as if people aren't working. Unemployment is actually down. Employment is really high. The employment to population ratio for Americans aged 25 to 54 is above July 2019 levels. That's according to data from the St. Louis Federal Reserve. Unemployment has hit a low of 3.6%. So you have Americans that are working. But yet there's this refrain, and it's annoying every time I hear it. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work. No. How about nobody wants to work for you? That's the problem. Nobody wants to work for you. The jobs, the industries that are struggling to retain people, well, guess what? You're not going to be surprised that they are low-wage service sector industries. That's it. So the same places that underpay people are having a hard time keeping people at work. Weird how that happens. No, not weird. It's funny because remember all that Republican advice when, we wanted to raise the wage, right? Hey, we really could use, a raise in the minimum wage, $7 an hour. It's not cutting it. Okay, it's not cutting it. You can't live anywhere on a low wage. You know what they said? They said, well, go get a better job. If you don't like the money that you're making at your job, go get a better one. Let the kids do the work, right? And then what happened? They did exactly that. They went and got better jobs as soon as those jobs opened because of you had these different reasons that I outlined earlier in the video. And now, the same people that told you that have surprised Pikachu face. Oh my God! Why is nobody working at this? Why do I have to wait for my burger and my fries? I've had to wait for 20 minutes in line. Why is nobody wants to work? Nobody wants to work. No, nobody wants to work for you. And now you have Mitch McConnell out there telling everybody that he hopes that you become so broke and desperate that you will come crawling back into these jobs that use you, abuse you, and pay you like shit. That's Mitch McConnell. That's these Republicans. And to that I say, no deal. Adapt or die, bitch. It's a free market. All right. let's go to the fun stories. Because I think we've had enough seriousness for the day. If you've ever poked around conspiracy theorist websites or gone to certain places on even social media, you may have heard about the Georgia Guidestones. Heck, there's even documentaries, so-called documentaries on different streaming services all about these paranormal weird stuff, right? Conspiracy stuff. But if you're not familiar with what the Georgia Guidestones are, well, it's basically a monument that right-wingers think is written and placed by Satan. Now, on Wednesday, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation said that somebody, even though right-wingers have been raging about this since 1979, when they were first erected by who knows what. Who knows who put it up? Could it be Satan? Probably not. But that's what they think. Or at least some of them. Somebody actually tried to take action and tried to blow them up. Per the Daily Beast, the bomb attack targeted the Georgia Guidestones, a set of mysterious 19-foot tall tablets inscribed with messages that appear to offer advice on how humanity should recover from an apocalyptic event. I want to show you some flyover video of the damage to the Guidestones. So, there it is. Yeah, they got one of them. Interesting. So now the blast, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, was carried out by unknown individuals at about 4 in the morning. Fascinating. A local TV station reported that nearby residents heard an explosion-like sound around the same time, so put two and two together. The Guidestones, which sit in a field in rural Elberton, Georgia, have been focus of attention for conspiracy theorists since they were erected in 1979 at the behest of an unknown patron. The tablets are inscribed with a series of admonitions, including a call to keep the global population of under 500 million people. Yeah, a fat chance of that happening. Look, you get a few quiverful families. Yeah, again, not happening, right? And I don't want it to happen. That's some pretty, I forget the name of it, but seems a little eco-fascist to me. Especially since it's not really the population, it's actually how we use and distribute our resources. But again, not happening. So now, here's the thing. Right-wingers, and those of you who are familiar with Alex Jones, might have heard him talk about this at least a few times on his show, about how this is the New World Order plot to population control, and that this is them basically writing their plan to kill off most of humanity. Now, look, if you're gonna do a plan to kill off most of humanity, why would you write it in stone? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, sure. But then again, I mean, you ask Alex Jones, and he's gonna blame a lot of people.
Stilter.
Maybe even the witches and warlocks.
I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks.
I don't know. It could even be making the frogs gay. Look, I don't know. Lots of ridiculousness, right? But look, there's been a long history of this, of people saying insane things about the Georgia Guidestones. Pastors would claim that they're a site for doing satanic rituals. But again, generally, it's been in the fringes. Except until recently, because of course, I don't know what it is about the last few years, but there's been a lot of crazy that has come out of the woodwork, especially on the right wing. And again, conservatives, grifters like Alex Jones, Well, he came out and started talking about the Guidestones, and now we even had a recent Republican candidate who ran on demolishing the Guidestones. You'll remember Candace Taylor. So if you're not familiar, she was the person who ran on guns, God, and babies. Now, it turns out she also had another campaign pledge to drive to Alberton to confront the Guidestones, and if she was elected, would vow to order them demolished. Right. Okay. That's your campaign pledge. Instead of like helping the people of your state, you're gonna knock down a monument? Weird. But by the way, she delighted in this. She said, God is God all by himself. He can do anything he wants to. That includes striking down satanic Guidestones. Well, you just saw the video. The whole thing is not destroyed. How come God didn't blow up the whole thing if that's what God did? I mean, you had one job and you didn't even do it right. Just saying. Okay. We've got more conspiracy nuttery. On Tuesday of this week, the world's largest particle accelerator was fired up for the first time in a couple of years. And already the conspiracy theorists online have vomited up all sorts of different crazy. Apparently, there are people out there who believe the Large Hadron Collider, created by CERN, of course. What it does is that it smashes particles together, for science. These people think that is actually hurtling us into the pits of hell. Yeah. So now, CERN, again, always been the subject of different conspiracy theories, from the creation of black holes that will allegedly suck up the entire Earth, or human sacrifices being committed on the grounds to appease Satan. I don't know. Weirdo stuff. But these new ones are also very interesting. In fact, one person on social media asked, "Who has felt like a big shift coming for a while now?" Ooh, the big shift. Okay, no one? Or it's just you? But they continued by saying, "Now on July 5th, we are quite literally going to be switching timelines. When CERN is going to turn on their machine thingy, it's opening a portal to go through. Also, the unknown is coming in. Keep your positive vibes and energy up." Yes, positive vibes. Definitely need more positive vibes. High energy, not Jeb Bush energy either. If you're low energy like Jeb,
Please clap.
then you're not gonna do very well.
Give me a break.
Okay, just saying. But okay, the machine thingy, according to them, is gonna open a portal, or did open a portal, because it was before, and then we've already been switched into the other timeline. Well, then how come everything's the same? I mean, can we please be in the other timeline where Bernie Sanders won the presidential election? Because right now, the way that I see it, we're in the bad timeline. We're in the bad place. We're not in the good place. Okay? I want to be in the good timeline. I want to be in the good timeline where Ronald Reagan was never president, where George W. Bush never invaded Iraq. Okay, that would be the good times. Or maybe the timeline where Jordan Peterson actually got laid and turned out normal. I don't know. Again, any timeline better than this timeline. You actually can't seem to get worse than what we're already in. Oh, but there's more. There's more. I love these responses, right? One person says, I've looked into this. Famous words. Have you though, really? Have you looked into this? He then warns us to look for 10 times more, exactly 10 times more Mandela effects. The Mandela effects. Because back in 2012, they did a record voltage level that caused these Mandela effects. Whatever portal they're opening, they shouldn't. Don't open the portal. Don't open the portals. The Mandela effects are going to get you. Wait, I thought all the Mandelas were dead. Oh, they killed all the Mandelas. They killed all the Mandelas. Oh, apparently not in the alternate universe, in the parallel universe. So what's funny about this, I had no idea before doing the story what a Mandela effect actually was. So, for one, I think it comes from a D-list movie where people started noticing things that, like, little discrepancies, right, in reality. And they're like, that doesn't seem to be right. That instead of the Bernstein Bears, it's the Berenstain Bears or Berenstain Bears. It's weird, but basically, Mandela effect is collectively shared false memories. Okay, all right. So now I'm gonna spoil this movie that's been out since 2019. Okay, and basically this movie in it, they find out, the characters find out that they are living in a computer simulation that was rewriting reality, and that they eventually crashed this reality, the simulation, and then had it rebooted by a computer program that changed the reality. Again, weirdo stuff. Weirdo. The movie got a 20% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. The Mandela effect. But hey, apparently we found one of the people that actually really liked that movie. Thinks it's reality. Thought it was a documentary. Oh, but we're not done. There's more fun stuff here. More social media. Oh, look at that. Man, I caught this on CERN live stream. Flashed many times, only for split seconds. It looks like a devil to me. Could it be Satan? Satan. You got the devil horns there. Satan. Talk about a really ill-fated prediction. In 8 hours, the gates of hell will be open. The transdimensional reptilian beings are coming for you and your family. This is not a drill. Okay, everybody, this is not a drill. This is real. Not a drill. Not a drill. Here we got Satan. Oh, wow. Now, funny enough, that same person, after the portal to hell did not open, and we were all collectively saddened by that. Okay. That same person decided to move the goalposts like they all did. He said, a lot of people are discounting how serious the CERN Hadron Collider agenda. It's an agenda. It really is. It's not like beings emerge from a portal and instantly kill everyone. Oh, see, it's a timeline. It's a delayed. Delayed murder. Okay, all right. He goes on to say, or they go on to say, that's not how satanic rituals work. the ramifications of what happened yesterday will unfold in the coming months. Or maybe not, and you're just crazy. Just saying. But look, here's the thing. Is CERN doing awesome physics stuff? Yes. Very true. And are they talking about extra dimensions? They actually are. That is interesting. So look, here's what CERN explains on their website. They ask, how could we test for extra dimensions? One option would be to find evidence that particles that can exist only if extra dimensions are real. Theories that suggest extra dimensions predict that in the same way as atoms have a low energy ground state and excited high energy states, there would be heavier versions of standard particles and other dimensions. So basically, a particle that just has more mass. Same everything else, just higher mass. And I think, oh, well, that is because it exists in a different dimension with different rules. Okay, sure. These heavier versions of particles called Kaluza-Klein states would have exactly the same properties as standard particles and would be visible to the detectors, but with greater mass, as they explain. Such heavy particles can only be revealed at the high energies reached by the Large Hadron Collider. Now, another possibility that they talked about, and that conspiracy theorists have freaked out about, is the fact that the LHC could produce extremely tiny black holes, miniature black holes. So now, the thing is, that's not going to destroy the Earth. The microscopic black holes, well, first they say that they could tell us about the existence of extra dimensions, but also literally collapse in on themselves in microseconds. Okay. Speculations about microscopic black holes at the LHC refer to particles produced in collisions of pairs of protons, each of which has an energy comparable to that of a mosquito in flight. CERN adds. Astronomical black holes, they point out, are much heavier than anything that could be produced at the LHC. So yeah, if you think, if you're concerned that CERN, the concern trolls, if you will, that they are going to create an Earth or universe sucking black hole, don't have to worry about that. We don't actually have the power to do that. So it's going to be all right. Take heed, conspiracy theorists. We're going to be okay. We are not. Again, if we were in another reality, things would be, hopefully you would think things would be a little bit better. Take me somewhere else. Anywhere else. I'd love it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. It's kind of nice to get back to the classics. Dunking on conspiracy theories. I feel a lot better than after the Biden story. So, all right. Doctor Strange needs to work something out for us. That's it, too. Yeah, somebody watched too much Multiverse of Madness. That had to have been it. All right. Wait, does Jank have something to do with this? I don't know. Wouldn't be the first conspiracy theory Jank is involved in. The Guidestones are real. They blew them up. Well, yeah. They were real in the fact that they existed and there was stuff written on them. And then somebody did blow them up. Okay. Well, too many Marvel movies? Not enough. Just don't take Marvel movies as fact, and you'll be all right. Let's do some super chats before I head out for the day. Gabby Mathis says, CERN can't be worse than climate change. True. Climate change, pretty bad. Thank you for the new follows over on Twitch. Appreciate that. Lower than usual on Twitch, but that's all right. To everybody, I think there is another super chat that I might have missed. So let me go and find that before I go. That's right. Madi Darno says, people are clamoring for YouTube emotes. I can do. Just reply to my Twitter. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it. So I'm like super not on top of any of that. Virginia Thomas, aka Ice Dragon, also says, how long do they think a couple of $1,000s lasts? Doesn't even cover rent, utilities, gas, and food. How much could rent be, Michael? $10? No, you're absolutely right about that. Oh, and Monty Donner also says, we're loving your passion and spirit. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I'm just trying to be honest. That's it. All right. Thank you all. Love you. Really appreciate you. Have a great night. Have a fun evening. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. Have a great night.
Wet ass P-word.
Every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths is the truth.
Tighten up my knee. I like my knee tight.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Disappointed!
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.